This is Srimai Majumdar again from Swami Vivekananda Institute of Modern Science. I shall be dealing with the concluding part of the reading process in this last section. To begin with, we shall deal with the art of reading. What do we mean by the word art? It's the process. It is how we should go about when we are reading something. Our main purpose is to understand the material. Therefore, when we are reading, the first step is to understand the material. When we try to understand the material, we must also understand vocabulary, the words which are printed in the page. Without knowing the meaning of those words, we cannot understand. We will talk about the visual perception, that what we see in the printed page, in whichever format it is. How do we perceive it? Whether we understand the meaning of this, whether we can accept it. And then we go into scanning and skimming. To scan means to figure out the printed material, and to skim means to select important points which is relevant for us. And lastly, we shall highlight the important points which we need, and then only the art of reading will be successful. Let us now deal with vocabulary skill. What is vocabulary? Vocabulary means the compilation of words. The words which, when put together, make a meaning. We must concentrate, focus on the word meaning. Unless and until we know the meaning of the word, our reading is totally ineffective. It is meaningless. Sometimes there will be words which need a little guessing. We try to place the word in the context, and we try to place it in connection with the background. Supposing we get a word like extraordinary, or we get a word like extravagant. In the first place, what is extraordinary? We try to understand the meaning of the word ordinary, then we connect extra and we say this must be special. So it is an example of correct guessing. When we are discussing extravagant, we try to understand the storyline behind it. Is it talking about a person who spends too much? Maybe then that is connected with the word extravagant. Similarly, in the third place, we analyze the word structure. If the word structure is positive, then we get a positive meaning. In this case, a prefix or a suffix helps. Ability and inability. The word structure inability can make us understand the lack of ability, and the total meaning comes from analyzing the context clues. What is the total context? The material, the topic that we are dealing with. If we place those words in that context, in that topic, how does it figure out? How does it feature? So this vocabulary skill may help us in many cases when the words are not very familiar to us. Visual perception is also very important and interesting. What is visual perception? How we look at the page that is in front of us. Have we developed a rapid focus? Can we quickly go through the page, go through the paragraph or the points? Are we able to read words in a cluster? Supposing these are big paragraphs, nothing is highlighted. Can we figure out which are the important words in that paragraph? Can we visualize words and phrases which need to be highlighted, which are important to us? If we are reading a newspaper, the headlines immediately, the entire headline and the first two, the words like Prime Minister, collection of two words, it will hit us before anything else. So, can we visualize those important areas? During visual perception, it is important to note that reading, quick reading, is a silent reading. We do not read the words aloud. It is not good for in the social scenario where we disturb others. At the same time, it is not good for us because the way we absorb words inside our heads through the eyes, it may clash with the reading out or the sound effects. So silent reading is one very important tool where the word and absorbing the words inside our heads make a lot of difference in speed and context, and therefore the essence of comprehension is much better when we go through silent reading, when we go through visual perception. Quick reading depends on prediction techniques. What is the meaning of prediction? Prediction means foretelling what is going to be in the end, in the future. There are few tools. First is the art of scanning. If we can give it a quick scanning, if we can scan the material quickly, we will know the headlines or the important points in no time. Scanning the heading of any chapter immediately will set the ball rolling, because we will know the heading of that chapter and what we are looking for, and what we are searching, what we need to absorb. Index is another way by which we can predict the material that we are looking for. Scanning of non-verbal details means when we are reading, there are non-verbal details like charts, pictures, graphs. A quick look at these non-verbal details may tell us the entire story at a glance. And lastly, we must recall signals of previous linguistic knowledge. If we have learnt a new word in the earlier chapter, it should ring a bell. It should bring back the memory of that knowledge when the word repeats itself in the second chapter. These linguistic clues help us in retaining the knowledge. In scanning and skimming, one should say practice makes a man perfect. The more we scan better, the more we skim better, we read better at a short period of time. When we scan properly, we identify the key issues of the topic. We skim. Skim means jump over the unrelated matter, which is not really required. Skimming means jumping through the surface. Use guides. What do we mean by guides? There are signals which word or which line are highlighted. Sometimes when we are reading a newspaper, we want to look at political news, we will skip through unrelated matters like matrimonial advertisements. We will skip through professional advertisements. Our interest is the key issue. Sometimes if we are looking up the dictionary and we want to know about the meaning of a particular word, we will use the guides. What do we mean by guides? We will pinpoint the alphabet. We'll pinpoint on the alphabet. We will search for that particular sequence where our reading will be effective. And we must understand the listing techniques also. Listing is what goes after what. That will help us in finding out our reading material. Supposing I am looking for the words beginning with M or N, I will start with looking up the word M, the initial M, and continue my reading. And to top it all, we must concentrate, we must be focused in the material that we are reading. What is intensive reading? We have already said that we need to concentrate. Intensive reading means to be totally focused on the topic. We have to identify the relevant areas. We have to identify the facts related to that area. We also have to identify what the author is trying to say, what is his motive in that piece of writing. While we are reading it, as we identify the main objective of the writing, we will identify the motive of the writer, and only then we will be able to conclude whether the material has been understood or not. Otherwise, no amount of reading, whether it is with concentration or without concentration, no amount of reading if it is not an intensive read. With that, we come to the end of the art of reading and the reading process. The elements which we have discussed here will help the readers to read better, absorb better, understand better, and conclude better. Thank you so much for being with us. Hope to see you all shortly with some other topics. Thank you so much. Be with us.